Okay, welcome back. We have a couple of features here today, tonight that we're going to talk about the 10 most irritating things that airlines and flight attendants do. That's coming up. We're also going to talk about the invasion of the alpha males into these perfectly nice organizations that now are fighting off the invasion of the alpha males. And then you were going to talk about the Electoral College.
I'd like to. We can start with that.
Sure.
When you had the 10 most irritating things by waiters, I wasn't 100% in support of that. But the 10 most irritating things that are done to you on airlines is good. Stay tuned for that.
I think the reason is you only eat in these really highbrow places. You don't eat in places like I eat.
Where the exact same places you do. Well, you and I are inflicted on each other about 3 times a week for lunch.
But I'm talking about evening meals when you go to these highfalutin places. See, I go to where the average person goes to, and I see these things. And when you walk in, Mr. Rankin, and they have a white cloth, and everybody's got 2 or 3 people hanging around you. I go, and I kind of have to fight for the menu.
When's the last time you ate in McDonald's? Where I eat about 3 times.
Do you?
I eat McDonald's about 3 times.
I think McDonald's menu is really improving. A lot more healthy things.
Yes, that's true.
They have great stuff for breakfast. Yeah. They got yogurt and all that.
I go there for the fries.
You do for the fries. Well, they are the best. And you stay in pretty good shape. Bill's out rowing every morning in the bayou.
I get grilled chicken with leave the mayo off, a little lettuce and tomato on a roll, and nothing too bad about that. Though my wife will give you an argument about the chicken, and you get a little fries with that. It's really pretty good, and it's cheap and it's quick.
Why didn't you like the 10 most irritating things waiters do? Because I've gotten some very positive feedback about that. Well, in fact, some people have sent me some suggestions. And we're going to get ready. I think we could write a book about how irritating waiters are and wait staff and wait persons. And I'm Janie, and I'll be changing your bib and all this other stuff.
Can you sell that to the people who really can't afford to eat out more than about once a year?
Well, no, I probably
just on Mother's Day.
I probably can't.
And they're going to want to hear about how insulting their waiter is going to be.
Well, it does appear.
See, they're with me in McDonald's.
It does appear to be the problem of the wealthy, and I didn't mean it for that. I mean, that's when you do go out to eat, you don't want to run into any of these people that we run into all the time. Now, there's some nice people out there. They're good. There's some excellent waiters and wait staff, but they're just an exception to the rule. I mean, they are. They're an exception to the rule. Okay, most of them are terrible. All right, what do you got? What do you have?
Most waiters are terrible.
Now I go out to a restaurant, they won't wait on me anymore. But I don't know why. I just try to be constructive.
Well, he doesn't mean you.
No.
Well, let's do the Electoral College quickly. This is an easy sell.
Okay.
If you turn on your television or your radio, they're talking about the key states, the swing states, the battleground states. The statistics are the politicians. Obama has practically lived in Ohio, and Romney too. They're spending all this money in these key states. We've been afflicted by it because Florida is one of the swing states, and the reason for that is the way the Electoral College works. Your vote in Florida counts way more than your vote in New York. Because New York's over. That's count all of those votes for Obama. Most states instruct their electors in the Electoral College to vote all or nothing. So if Romney wins the state of Florida, he gets all the Florida electoral votes. It is really an unfair and stupid system. Gore, I wasn't a big supporter of Gore, but he got 500,000 more of the popular vote than Bush did, and Bush got the election.
What about a hybrid?
Fair?
What about a hybrid system? What if the votes were split proportional to the votes cast?
Well, some states actually do that.
Ah, they do.
Yeah. What about just a popular election? The Secretary of State of each state says, this person got this many votes, this person got that many votes. You go up to Congress, add them up. They can do that. Even Michelle Bachmann could do that. You put it on a calculator, and you say, aha, the most popular votes. You'd have it in the news the next day anyway.
And we're
going to declare this person president, and we wouldn't have Bush v. Gore, and we wouldn't have swing states, and we wouldn't have some states don't get visited at all because everybody knows all their Electoral College votes are going for somebody, and that person gets all the votes.
I think I read in the last election there were 22 states that the candidates did not visit. Did not participate in, and spent no money. But I want to make a comment.
The money is crazy.
The money's crazy.
In the 10 key states, they get all the money. And I saw a statistic, I couldn't find it, but a huge percentage of the money has been spent in these battleground states. Ohio is, they're focusing on Ohio. They're driving those people nuts. I'm sure they're all waiting for this to be over.
Except this.
And it is over by the time you see this.
Except this. In Northwest Florida, we don't have 2 parties. we have the raging right that controls all of the votes here. So, how much money is spent in Northwest Florida? In our economy, when we need the money for our media needs, where our newspapers and our television stations, our radio stations, nada.
Well, you still get some of it because it's Florida. And a vote in Pensacola counts as much as a vote in Miami.
Yeah.
There are fewer people, but
come on.
Listen, the Republicans want to make sure. Romney was here. John McCain's been here a couple of times.
I'm talking about money. Real money.
But
it's dumped into the I-4.
Sure. We're getting
in the I-4 corridor.
They want to make sure that these Republicans turn out and vote. Yeah, that's
the I-4 corridor primarily.
That's what counts.
Because it's mixed. Okay.
Right.
They're not dumping a lot of money in Miami, which predominantly goes Democratic. They're putting that money through the I-4 corridor.
That's what we've been told by some real political operatives who are involved in this. The I-4 corridor is it. That's where there's some dispute.
That's where Florida goes. All right. So.
Yeah. So the Electoral College is ridiculous. You know what? I mean, it's this archaic procedure, and I thought it was because, well, you know, back when our Constitution was passed, it took 30 days to get to Washington on a horse. You've got a different idea. But the electors don't really even have to vote for whoever got the popular vote. Really. They get picked. I mean, there's some things in place to make sure that they vote that way, but they don't always. In history, they haven't always voted the way they're supposed to. It's just a crazy system. It'll take amending the Constitution to do it, except there's a compact among states that they will vote for whoever won the popular vote. It's got to be, if that will put them on top, and you got to get enough states together, and they're thinking about doing that. Well, I think we'd have a constitutional amendment to do away with it and put in a simple system where if you win one person, one vote. If you win the popular vote, you're the president, end of story, no Bush v. Gore.
But we can't pass any legislation in the United States Congress or the Senate. How in the world could you get this thing to the point where, what is it, is a majority of the states have to approve it? What percentage of the states?
It's 2/3 and 3/4 or something.
Okay.
To get it on the ballot from the Senate, you have to have a majority, and then it has to be a majority of the states, and I've forgotten the numbers to ratify it.
But how are you ever going to get something like that passed? In today's environment where there's there was a great thing on 60 Minutes last night, the split. Yeah, you've got people who are opposing the other side solely because it's the other side with no interest.
The only way it's going to work, here's something I read, that when George Bush won the election, even though he didn't win the popular vote compared to Gore, the Democrats wanted to change the system and the Republicans were against it. Now, if Obama wins with fewer popular votes, then the Republicans will want to change it. I mean, if all of our legislators in Washington get together and say, let's just get together and do this. This is wrong.
Good luck on them getting together. They can't
should happen.
They can't get together to name a post office. I mean, it's pitiful. They can't get anything
That's actually
done.
the one thing they can do pretty well.
Well, maybe so. In fact, Ryan, that was one of the two bills he passed the whole time he was in Congress. We talked about that. He got a post office name, then he got a tax exemption for a company that makes arrows because he's a big bow hunter. That's your vice presidential guy. Oh, that's right. You're not for any of these people.
Well,
are you?
The thing I'm always hoping for, I mean, what if we would be way better off if we just said, we're going to give you your congressional salary, just don't show up. We're not going to do any of this. Because every time they meet, we get screwed worse. The government gets bigger, and we waste more money, and we give it away to people who don't deserve it, and we start more optional wars. Oh, that's the president.
Yeah.
Congress doesn't have any more role in that.
You made a good observation before we went on the air about the changing role of the president. We're really electing a king almost, aren't we now?
I think so. You know, the presidential race is very important. I think it's way more important than it should be. We should be picking somebody, the president, to preside over one branch of government. We should not be picking the person who can send your children off to war by himself, so far only him. We should not be picking the person who can change your immigration status. We should not be picking the person who sets the fuel mileage for your cars. We should not be picking the national buddy who's going to solve all your problems. We should be picking an executive to preside. And here is my key thought after reading about the progressive era. Your government does not love you. If you make the mistake of thinking that it does, it's a recipe for disaster. You know, everybody knows, well, Walmart's out for themselves and their stockholders. China is out for China. Morgan Stanley's out for Morgan Stanley. But the idea that these politicians are just out there to do good is just nonsense. It's been proven wrong time and time again. They help their buddies. They help themselves. They'll do whatever it takes. And we're not going to change human nature, but we can have a smaller, less intrusive government.
Don't you think we've had some great statesmen? I'm thinking in
Yes.
Florida, Reuben Askew and Leroy Collins and other nationally some really distinguished people.
We've had courageous people
in public service.
Are you accusing me of overstating something?
A little.
I do it all the time.
No,
I mean, my MO.
The general point is good, but we do have statesmen. But now, in order to be elected, you have to appease these groups and take these positions.
Yeah,
you know, I heard
you can't be a statesman.
I heard a talk show guy on the local talk show radio come into the studio, and here's a comment he made about the left, the liberal left. The only issue they care about, the only issue is abortion. They don't care about women's rights. They don't care. I thought, you know, the discourse in this country and the morons on both sides cause me, you and I talked about this last week, cause you to be so repulsed by, for me, Ann Coulter and Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham. It causes you to be repulsed by these people and say, okay, I'm not voting for your candidate. Where I said it last week, I thought Romney, I do sincerely, deep in my heart, believe Romney's the best person right now to be president of the United States. But the problem is this crazy, raging right runs off the middle people, and the crazy loony left with Nancy Pelosi and those people run off the moderates to the right. This is all wacky, Bill.
Meanwhile,
wacky.
we're running deficits of $1 trillion a year, and we have a lot of problems. Here is, we should have recognized this when it happened. George McGovern died a couple of weeks ago. Now, George McGovern had some policies that even at the time, even when I was campaigning for him in 1972, I thought were somewhat wacky. I think he was going to pass out $1,000 to every man, woman, and child in the country. But he was a man of principle. I mean, his principles were left-leaning principles, but he was an honest-to-God war hero. He was just the most sincere, honest person you could ever find.
Bob Dole was another one.
Bob Dole was decent.
I think he was a wonderful leader of the Republican Party, and he forged all kinds of nonpartisan resolutions to probably a long list of those.
George Washington could have been king.
Yes.
George Washington, after 2 terms, said, that's enough. I'm going to set the standard, and I'm leaving. I'm going to go back and be a farmer. And that's exactly what he did.
He did, indeed.
Wonderful.
All right, before we go to the break, we're going to pay tribute to some of the airline foolishness that we see from time to time. So we're going to give you our thoughts on the top 10 most irritating things airlines do, and let's call them what they are. They're stewardesses, okay, so you got some guys in there, you know, just token males. Why can't we go back to 21-year-old stewardesses? What's wrong with that, Bill? Okay, well, we'll talk about that when we come. All right,
That's terrible.
I mean, really.
Once you turn 30, you get kicked out of the job? Is that really what you think ought to happen?
If I ran the airline, yeah, that's exactly what I would do. Okay, and they make them wear
Hooters Airline, run by Bob Kerrigan.
And they make them wear these polyester suits and those flat black. Why can't we have 3-inch heels? What is wrong with that? All right, let's go back to the thing. Put it up there again. All right, here, number 10. Priority boarding includes everyone but you.
You didn't pay, you got to pay.
What everybody says, you know, you get a silver member, a gold member, a metallic member, a cheap gunmetal member, all of those people.
They all get on ahead of you.
They all go ahead of you. And then finally, when I'm one of 2 or 3 people, they say, all remaining passengers can board.
Right.
Well,
you got the women and children. Then we let all the servicemen on.
Oh, everybody's on. And then all the bins are filled. They're all filled because I'm not in the priority class. All right, let's go to number 9. All right, announcing the flight will be 20 minutes late every 20 minutes for hours and hours. Because right at the 20-minute thing, okay, I'll wait 20 minutes. I'll wait 20 minutes. Thank you. They said another 20 minutes. You get right to this. Okay, I'll wait another 20 minutes. Next thing you know, I've been there several hours. You think, well, I already got all this time invested in it. I can't leave. It's genius, okay? It's pure genius. Number 8, put it up. Number 8. Making you pay extra for any seat other than the middle seat in the last 3 rows. Every time you go online, That's all there is.
They're selling you everything.
Yeah, they got the 2 or 3 crummy seats next to the toilet. Okay, that's it.
That's it.
Oh, you want a real seat?
You want an exit seat? You want an aisle seat? Now, in coach, they have, I forget what they call it, but there are seats with a little more leg room that you can pay an extra few bucks for.
What's the extra row?
And then you can pay, in some airlines, because I've done it, in addition to all the other stuff, you can pay a little extra to get on first. You know that priority boarding? So you don't even have to be silver or gold or medallion or bronze.
Didn't know that.
You can pay a little extra. And I kept thinking, the next thing I'm going to see on this screen on the internet is, for another $1.50, we're going to smile at you instead of being surly. I mean, anything you want some peanuts, 75 cents. Pay for it here.
Forget the peanuts.
No more peanuts.
After the peanut scare prediction, the gluten scare is coming. Anything that has any wheat near it, they're going to be pulling you off the airline. Somebody's going to be having some kind of an attack, and we won't be able to get any more crackers. All right, let's go to the next one, number 7. Bragging about an on-time departure, but they make you get on so long. You're waiting longer on the plane to leave. It takes to fly to wherever you're going.
Listen, if they charge you to put your bags in the baggage department, everybody wants to bring their bag to save that $25, and then they're trying to stuff it in the overhead.
They are.
And then they're jamming up the line, and it takes a long time to load the people on. And what the airlines do is, you'll have these huge airplanes, 200 people. There's one aisle.
Yeah.
The real big airlines sometimes have 2 aisles, but that's giving up valuable space. So you have one aisle. This plane is this long, skinny thing.
Yes.
And if anybody's in the aisle, that's it. Nobody gets by.
I want to ask you a question. We're going to go to number 6 in a minute. But can you imagine designing a movie theater like that? Okay, you have the exit rows blocked, and you're charging people to sit there. Okay, you got one aisle that's just wide enough,
that's right.
And a person that weighs 350 pounds can't get down.
It's not really
an aisle like
row.
this. It couldn't
you
go
get
down.
to sit in the exit
No, all right,
row.
let's go to number 6. All right, number 6, requiring you to turn off your electronic devices. We wonder.
This is my favorite.
Yeah, you have that. Go with that.
Okay. They insist now, and that's kind of in the nature of a totalitarian regime where everything is being run. Don't give me any crap that air marshals will jerk you off. Anything with an on-off switch, even the noise-canceling headphones or your Kindle or anything, doesn't transmit anything. Anything with an on-off switch, turn it on or off. Now, I suspect that a lot of people like me, you can really turn off your phone, and you can kind of turn it off.
Yeah.
You know? Well, lots of I just put it away. It's actually on. I've never been on a plane that crashed.
No.
Why didn't somebody say, well, the navigation lanes are pointing in the wrong direction. Somebody left a Kindle on. There are loads of Kindles left on. There are loads of phones left on.
Of course.
And everything else that they just don't see, and the planes don't crash. This is nonsense. It's just easier for the airlines to just say, you got to turn everything off.
And here's what they're afraid of. They say that somebody will have some kind of electronic device that they don't know about that will emit some kind of signal that someday might interfere with some electronic system on the airplane. That's what this is all about. Now, they haven't come up with one yet.
Wouldn't you like to see an explanation of what that is?
Yeah.
If I turn on this iPad and you put it in airplane mode, where it's not on the internet, it's not doing anything, it's just a bunch of little pixels and a battery. Yeah. How do you even detect the thing?
Well,
how would you know about it?
Yeah, I don't think you would ever know about it. And if it does all this bad stuff, wouldn't you rather have it operating? Not operating above 10,000 feet where you might run into another airplane, then down low where you can see better?
I think we can be pretty sure that it doesn't do bad stuff because loads of them are left on.
They're all left. Everybody's got everything's on. All right, we're going to go back with number 4, 3, 2, and 1. We'll come back. All right, we're going to do 5. We're going to take a short break. This is really easy. I'm so tired of this. It's Jimmy's 12th birthday. We're so proud of him. Let's have a nice round of applause for Jimmy. So everybody has to clap on the airplane. And I've been there when they've sung happy birthday. It's too much. We'll be back after this short break. Stay with us.